let's take a look at some news that probably went under most people's radar, starting with the Caribbean island nation of Dominica. When's the last time you heard a news item about the Caribbean island nation of Dominica? They have overturned a ban on consensual same-sex activity. Good for them. That has been on the books since British rule in the 1800s. And what's neat about this is that it's part of a bigger trend with Caribbean nations in the past few years. So Barbados, St. Kitts and Nevis, Trinidad and Tobago, and a few other countries have also overturned this ban. It's not completely legal all over the Caribbean, but it's kind of creeping and trending that way. So it's nice to see.
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot actually truly going on between Caribbean nations around sustainability and environmental change. Island nations tend to have a strong self-interest in doing something about climate change because of obviously rising sea levels and dependency on tourism and the degree to which those two things could not easily coexist. So these are countries that have not usually received much particular attention in global affairs, but have become, we once talked about American states as being incubators and experiments of democracy. A lot of these island nations have become oddly in the sense of their history, not oddly per se, creative in the way in which they're dealing with certain problems, and progressive, small p progressive, in how they come up with solutions.
100%. Speaking of that, on the sustainability line, Ember just released their global electricity review, and the world's hit a pretty big renewable energy marker last year. 30% of the world's electricity was produced by renewables last year, which is honestly more than I would have expected. A third. Not too shabby.
That is a lot.
They think that fossil fuel generation will fall in 2024 and then really start to decline post 2024. But I've been waiting around since about 2022 to hit peak fossil fuels. It's been kind of plateauing, and people are wondering, when is that peak going to be? And I'm hoping that it's going to be right now.
Yeah, I don't think we're getting to peak oil consumption anytime soon. What's declining radically globally is coal, oil, and natural gas. I think we're not going to plateau quite yet. I think a lot of that is coal is the one that's shrinking precipitously.
Coal is shrinking,
which is good
precipitously,
because coal is particularly dirty. Natural gas is far less so.
So moving on, last but not least, this is a fun one. So we definitely talked about this on the podcast, the Herculaneum scrolls that were decoded in this challenge called the Vesuvius Challenge. And the winning team used AI to figure out what was written on these scrolls that they haven't been able to unroll for, I think, centuries now. I think they were discovered in the 1800s because they're essentially calcified by lava. Now that they figured out a technology to read what's on the inside of the scrolls without physically unrolling them, they're discovering all sorts of fun things. One of them is the exact location of Plato's burial place. They didn't know exactly where he was buried. And they also found this fun fact that apparently there was a slave woman that was playing the flute for him on his deathbed. And he said, while running a high fever and actively dying, that she had a scant sense of rhythm. So that was one of Plato's last words.
Wow.
Yeah.
It's kind of like bitchy at the end, here he is, all he can do. And that's just amazing, but whatever. It's very cool. I mean, it's definitely very cool what we can discover. And I wonder if this will lead to a whole slew of both new data. We have ruins and rocks and some writing, but it's a lot of piecing together little fragments. And, the idea that this can unlock more texts and that can enrich our sense of what happened thousands of years ago is a really cool idea.
Yeah, I think there's going to be a lot of we thought this, but really this, because it was one of the biggest libraries at that time. So there's an enormous amount of information to be discovered.
Stay tuned.
Yeah.